There's this technology that some people say could take crime fighting from the Stone Age to the space age. New York State legislature is set to vote on a bill that would require semi-automatic pistol makers to use new technology, which is called microstamping. Here's how it works. Lasers engrave codes on the inside of a gun when it's made. So when the gun is fired, the codes are essentially stamped to the shell casing. Police officers could read the codes on the casings when the gun's fired. They could identify the gun. They could track down the buyer. The bill, though, is causing a pretty big controversy. Michelle Schimmel is a Democrat in the New York State Assembly. She's a sponsor of the bill. Brian Kolb is a Republican. He's the minority leader in this New York State Assembly, and he's against the bill. We'll start with you, Mr. Kolb, if I can. 69 local police departments have endorsed the legislation. 6 county law enforcement agencies have endorsed this legislation. Why are you against it?
Well, first of all, good morning, Soledad, and good morning, Michelle, as well. Actually, there's just not enough evidence that this is a proven technology. And there's been independent studies done that have really said this is just not proven to work. And so what we're really talking about in New York State is the state legislature mandating a process on manufacturers in New York State who have come out and basically said, if you do this to us, we're taking our jobs and moving out of New York State. So really, ultimately, unless this technology is proven, which it's not, I think it's a waste of the taxpayers' time and money to promote a government mandate that basically will kill jobs right here in New York State. And certainly right now, we need every job that we have. The industry's come out against this proposal. It's just not a great idea. And until the technology is proven, which I don't think it would be, to really work, I think this is really a bad idea that will only cost families in New York State jobs.
So
and
we'll
really,
talk
that's
about the
most important thing we need to focus on.
We'll talk about the technology in just a moment, but let's talk about jobs, because Remington is the company that you're referring to in New York State, and they sent a letter. Then they say this: Remington could be forced to reconsider its commitment to the New York market altogether, rather than spend the astronomical sums of money needed to completely reconfigure our manufacturing and assembly processes. So not even looking at whether or not this would be effective or if the technology is proven to work. They're saying, if you're going to put a burden on us, we're going to leave.
Well,
of course, and you've got
I'm sorry, Mr. Kolb, Assemblyman Kolb. Let me turn to Assemblywoman Schimmel, if I may.
Well, I just want to say right off the bat that the taxpayers may take umbrage with the movement, if you will, of a Kimber or Remington. There are 2 companies that had sent a letter to the governor threatening, because the taxpayers of the state have actually given tax breaks as well as grants to these companies to allow them to retool in the tune to millions of dollars. So when they're ready to leave, I think the taxpayers will have something to say about that.
But isn't there a risk that if indeed they do leave, whether the taxpayers have something to say about it later or not? If they say we're going to pick up and move, and you could potentially lose some jobs over this legislation, that's got to give you some pause, certainly in an election year.
Well, I have to tell you, as a former business owner, I don't think it's a good business decision to leave New York State. It's a very formidable market for guns. So I think it's just a threat. They're just retooling. In fact, Remington just got a large Defense Department contract, and they're actually building the factory up for that. So I'm not sure that they're going to actually make good on their threat.
Assemblyman Kolb, there are various studies on the efficacy, and I know you talked about some of those studies earlier because you say it's not proven to work, but a 2012 study actually showed that the stamping was legible, just under 90% of the time. If it's a 6-digit code specifically. At the end of the day, it seems like people would all support something that would help track guns that have shot or injured people or killed people in some capacity. I guess, why stand in the way of at least trying to get to the point where the technology could eventually be better?
It's actually not standing in the way at all. Really, I'm an avid crime fighter and a strong supporter of our law enforcement throughout our state and country. That's not it at all. Really, what we're talking about is you've got a government coming in with another mandate and technology that is not used unilaterally in any other state in the nation or throughout the globe. And that's quite frankly what we're saying is it just doesn't proven to be working right now. So why do this? Why do this now? And I would also just suggest to the Assemblywoman is to come out of New York City and travel to all these manufacturers that are in New York State. I have manufacturers in my district, and actually go to their companies, meet the employees, talk to the people that actually are producing these products, and just don't sit there and think you know all the answers as to what they're thinking about moving, staying, not moving, because I do that. I come from the private sector, spent over 25 years in this state owning my own business and working for other companies as well. And the problem with New York State is we've got too much government, too much regulation, too much taxes, which are why people don't want to move here or stay here. And New York's never going to be open for business if you got the legislature continually coming up with brand new ideas to really make sure that they're not competitive with other states or other countries.
We'll watch to see if this does go through the legislature and continue this conversation. Assemblyman Kolb, Assemblywoman Schimmel, thank you for being with us this morning. We're out of time, and we'll continue this debate. We appreciate it.